Movie Holics!
What's up, guys? I'm Kyler Wilson.
I'm Monica Casari.
And this is another episode of The Before.
The After.
And the After. Mike Tyson Punch-Out Edition. Woohoo!
We're trying to back out. Whoa! Wait.
We're back in action. It's been like over a month since we've been able to go to a movie. Not just because, but nothing's been out.
This weird dead period.
Yeah, I mean a few things came out, but like nothing that we really wanted to like go to the movies and review. But now, without further ado, we're going to see Creed, which you guys, if you watched our trailer trash on, I was pretty stoked about. Yeah, we've had enough of these movies, right? But I think I like the idea of tying in Creed's son and everything to it, and it's played by Michael B. Jordan. You know, awesome little actor.
I initially thought this was an unnecessary movie, but they just keep finding ways to keep boxing alive.
I love boxing films. I don't care what anybody says.
It's just one of those things, I guess. You know, keep boxing alive, keep Sylvester Stallone alive. Keep Rocky alive.
Well, I don't feel like they're gonna keep Sylvester Stallone alive. I said in the trailer trash, I think that this would be a great send-off movie. Like he dies at the end.
They better not. No, they won't.
Well, who knows? You never know what they'll do. He is a writer after all, and I can totally see where he could be like, you know what? It's time for Rocky to go away. It's time for Creed to take on.
Yeah, I'm really curious to see how they're gonna do this. Like, is it gonna be one of those, my dad wasn't there for me, and I have to overcome obstacles in my life to become a better person, and then at the end forgive him for all that he's done?
Probably. I mean, based on the preview, he's kind of mad at his dad because, you know, his dad was never around. You know, it's kind of hard to tell whether or not there's going to be like, you know, true, oh, my life is so screwed up because my dad wasn't there sort of scenario. Hopefully they don't take that route, but we'll see. Here's what I think we can expect. I think we can expect a really cool boxing match because, you know, the last Balboa, the last one that they did, they really like took away, like, or they got away, I should say, from that like over exaggerated boxing style that doesn't exist.
Mm-hmm.
And they made it look real. I think we're gonna get something a lot like that, something very reminiscent to what we just watched, Southpaw.
Yeah, I was gonna say, hopefully, I guess I'm going to watch it because I feel like there's an entertainment value with these type of movies, and I'm hoping that I'm entertained and not, you know, bored throughout.
I don't
waiting
think
to be entertained.
Happen. I don't think that's gonna happen. Especially this girl will get on Ion Movie Kicks and watch every Rocky. She won't even know which one she's watching. She's just watching it though. It was so funny that one day that you were like, wait, so which one's this?
I still don't know, and I've seen them all. I just don't know what is what order, who is this, what? I guess they're just so, and they shouldn't be forgettable to me, but they are. And I'm sorry for that.
Yeah, you should be. You can't forget Rocky, come on.
I think that's my issue with Star Wars, like, there's so many and I've seen them, but they don't hold dear to me, I guess, for some reason.
Monica, there are certain things you should never say in public.
Ooh, I take it
and
back.
That's one of them.
Well, I'm just saying.
Alright, so that's what we know about Creed. I think it's going to be a fun film. Hopefully it will.
Everyone keeps saying, well, all like entertainment people keep saying it.
It is good.
Yeah, like Kelly and Michael, The View people, GMA people. Everybody I watch in the morning before I go to work says it's really good.
Well, then let's take a look at it and see what happens.
Popcorn 30.
Popcorn 30. We'll catch you on the flip side. Okay.
So, how you doing? How's your mama?
So I personally thought that it was spectacular. I will say that there were a couple points where I was a little worried about some stuff, and we'll talk about, but I thought it was great.
Yeah, it was pretty good. I think something, I guess, what was it? I'm always like shunning boxing movies, but it's
you
funny
always
because
enjoy them.
I watch, man, I guess the same reason why I end up watching all the Rocky movies like once a month on TV. It's, I don't know, there's something about
seeing the underdog, the true underdog story, overcoming adversity. You know what I mean?
It really is, and
And that's what all boxing movies are. There's never been a boxing movie that was about the best guy ever staying the best guy ever. All the Rocky films, every boxing movie that I've ever seen, except for Play It to the Bone, was about the guy who everybody was like, there's no way he can win. And he wins.
Yeah, and I don't even think it's even, it's about that, but I feel like the build to get there.
Right.
Like,
it's hard work. You can overcome.
Yeah. I guess I don't know what I was trying to say. Because I don't know any other boxing movie than Rocky.
Yeah, you do. Southpaw. Play It to the Bone. You watch Play It to the Bone.
Okay, yeah, but I don't.
Raging Bull. I don't think you've ever watched, but
No. But ultimately, I just feel like, I guess the legacy of the Rocky films is really interesting because they don't just jump in and just try to redo it, and they build the story, they continue the story in a way that you really do fall in love with Rocky and the characters, because it's almost like you're following their life.
yeah.
And so, and it's just really interesting that, because this, I guess I expected it to be more focused on, the focus to be more on Creed, but they did a good blend of in between, letting us know how Rocky is doing as well. So,
well, and when I did the trailer trash, I said that I thought that this looked like a great send-off of one character and welcoming of another. And I won't say that this was necessarily a send-off, because it wasn't a send-off per se, but they did do a good job of letting us know that, like, Rocky is never gonna box again. You know what I mean? So it's time for somebody else.
Yeah,
man, I fell in love with Michael B. Jordan's.
I did too, and it's kind of weird because, like I said, all I could think about was Kyle every time I see him or hear him talk, because he sounds and talks just like Kyle. But there's something, I don't know, I guess endearing about, we've seen this character kind of before. That's fine, but I don't know what he did. I guess,
Yeah, I think he had more layers than the typical, like, just, oh, I'm so mad because my dad wasn't there kind of guy,
I guess in a sense, and I guess a lot of people can relate to that in a sense, But I don't know. Yeah, I liked him. I was never really sure how I felt about him in the first place anyway. But,
well, I think he proved in this film that he is a viable actor.
And I think this is definitely almost that proven film. Either this is the film you're going to make it work, or you're not, and we're never going to see you again.
I think he's going to be around for a while.
Yeah.
Based on this performance. Man, and to get off of the story and boxing and everything, it's such a well-made movie. It is such a well-made movie. There were points in this film where, like, I was really feeling stuff,
Yeah, they did a good job of really making you feel like, and I think all the films do it. It just shows that it's grown itself, filmmaker-wise.
Right.
To that extent of really being able to feel like, whoa, getting hyped up. Ooh, I should go to the gym. Or ooh, like, I feel like I'm actually doing these this jump rope with you.
I need to lose 5 pounds.
And I tell you what, this movie's like, it made me want to work out. Like, right. I was like, I need to work out. Like,
seriously.
It's so crazy, but at the same time, it's so like,
It was great.
Like,
man.
There was a lot of just, I say this all the time, intensity, but there was this really delivered true intensity as far as, you know, you wanting to get there. Like,
Right.
So, yeah, I found myself kind of like being like,
Yeah, man. There was at least once where I was so giddy in my seat that I almost let out a noise.
I was just like, so, yeah, Mad Props this movie, a lot of things in it really had some girth, I think. It really made you feel for these characters, and it makes you appreciate Rocky and the entire franchise a little bit more, because it makes you think back to the other ones and be like, oh, there was so much drive.
Yeah.
So much drive in everybody.
And it was not lost in this film at all.
It was not.
I personally can't wait to have a nice long discussion about it.
Okay.
So that was, I think you should go see it. And the long and short of it is, we think you should go see it.
Yeah, definitely.
If you're down for spoilers, stick around because the discussion is coming up.
Boom.
Peace.
Boom.
Okay, so it's been like a month since we saw a movie, as we explained in our before segment. It was a great movie to see. I'm glad that this was the comeback edition, considering that the movie's literally... Never mind. Anyways, we're going to jump into the previews right away. Bunch of weird previews for this one, right? A little bit. Just a teens, like...
They were definitely trying to fit into the demographic.
There was something. I mean, you'll see. Okay, so first thing we have is The Race, which is, I guess, a biopic about Jesse Owens. Yeah, Jesse Owens, like one of the fastest. He set all sorts of records back in the Olympics. I read about this guy when I was in school. Not really interested to see the movie. No.
Like I said, I feel like they're doing these, and I'm not bashing it, but I feel like they're trying to do these movies to remind people of where people came from, to try to give good motivation, and I applaud that, but I feel like...
There's a lot of tiptoeing going on right now.
I feel like people don't have us interest in it.
Yeah, I don't care about this particular story, to be honest with you. Primarily because like, I have very few interests in stories that I can just like flip open a history book and read. You know, like I don't like those kind of movies. Like even Civil War, and I'm all about some Civil War. I don't generally like movies about the Civil War, unless it's a very specific, like Cold Mountain, right, where it's a very specific story that takes place that you've never heard of. You know, but like Abe Lincoln, we own it. Still haven't watched it. No, we did not. It's in the wrapper. Huh?
How many are there?
Lincoln. There's just the one.
Who?
With Daniel Day-Lewis. Nope.
What was the one we watched before?
Abe Lincoln, Vampire Hunter?
That was all the history I needed to know.
Wow.
That's what happens when you release multiple movies based around the same premise, kinda in the same.
But he was a vampire hunter.
It was Lincoln.
Monica.
That's all we needed to hear.
Just no. God. Moving on. We had The Finest Hours, which I've seen a preview before. I don't know if you have. With what's his name?
Yeah, I've
Captain
seen that
Kirk.
movie before. And that's when I kept saying it's that other movie with Mark Wahlberg and George Clooney.
Yeah. Nope, not that movie.
I kept calling
Not
it
very
that
interested
movie.
in this movie either, so I'm gonna skip it. Yeah.
I feel like it's Titanic mixed with
Well, it's not Titanic, but it's
that
not.
other movie.
It's you're talking about The Perfect Storm.
Yeah, Perfect Storm. This movie is Perfect Storm, only older.
It definitely has a Perfect Storm feel. It's just, I don't know. I'm not into it.
Why do we care?
I'm not into it. It's just, I don't know.
I don't
The
care
opening
about it.
shot of the preview was all I needed to know. I didn't want to watch it, which it was that super, super, super CG boat in the middle of the ocean. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
I'm just like,
I
nope,
just
I'm
didn't
good.
have a really big interest in it.
Ride Along 2. I
didn't even see
missed the first one.
one.
Yeah, skipping it. Yeah, skipping it. Concussion. I've got to say, this is the best preview I've seen of that movie so far.
It was different?
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, they
I
had
felt
this whole score. Same information, but they had this like score that they were cutting to and everything. You okay?
My jaw kind of locked up.
They had this whole score they were cutting to, and they really got a little deeper into the fact that it was like the NFL was trying to do some really shady shit. So yeah, it was a different trailer. It was better than what I've seen. Still not interested.
Yeah, I'm still not interested.
Skipping it. Revenant. Now this was the last. We've said this a few times. We've seen two different trailers, I think, and the first round we weren't into. Second one, which we talked about in our last segment, or our last episode, it was really good. And this was that same trailer, and I was so into it again.
It's gonna be interesting.
Yeah. That being said, I think it might be slow. I think it might be a slow film.
It's gonna be one of those where it's like action and then action.
I'm betting there's a lot of long takes and good acting.
I feel like it might be one of those movies where it seems like the focus is the surrounding
the
instead
scenery.
of what's going on per se.
We'll see, man. Of course, he did Birdman, which we both really enjoyed.
Yeah, sure.
So he has a good record with us so far, but yeah, it seems like it could be slow. Based on this preview, though, I'd totally see it. Yeah. Central Intelligence. Second Kevin Hart film with The Rock.
Way to typecast that dude, y'all.
Man.
Both of them.
Get to the end of the trailer and tell me it's not the most terrifying thing you've ever seen in your life. It was.
I just thought about it. It was pretty good.
I'm not into it at all. Will not be seeing it. I'll never watch this movie. I'll never watch it. I said I'd never watch Pain and Gain.
I feel like
still haven't watched it.
It's so funny when comedians really hit that high point in their life, and then they start doing movies, and then they start doing the same movies over and over again. And yes, I'm talking about Amy Schumer and Kevin Hart, because that's where they are right now.
She just threw it down on Amy Schumer.
I mean, there's only so much.
What's her name? McCarthy? Melissa McCarthy?
Melissa McCarthy is a prime example.
Same thing. Like, she just does the same thing over and over and over.
You're
casting the same person every single time. She's nothing different. She brings nothing new to the table, any movie she does. And I hate to say it, but Kevin Hart is very much that way. They're always going to make a short joke. Yeah. Like, he's going to be loud. And it's just...
It's going to be the same.
There's only so many times it can be funny.
If he's the bad guy or the good guy, he's the same.
Yeah.
And I feel like Amy Schumer's the same. She relies on that.
She just wants to shock people by talking about how much dick she sucks.
How much longer will that last? We'll see in the next movie.
Moving on. Barbershop, The Next Cut. Fancy title, at least. I do got to say that for we know what kind of humor we're getting with that kind of film. This seemed like our best attempt yet at doing something funny with an already established property. Out of these trailers, I mean.
They're trying hard. I mean, I
would never watch it at theater, ever.
No interest. And would not watch it in the theater.
I could see myself like catching that on Netflix.
Or maybe UPN.
I'll never show that on UPN.
They show the other ones on there.
Do they?
Yes.
What?
Mm-hmm.
God, it's got to be the most edited crap ever.
You might have to edit this, but UPN is known as the Black People Station.
Well.
Or at least it was.
This white boy
that
just
was the
show.
New. Moesha used to be on there. All them other black shows. And right now they have like 3 black shows on there.
Well, okay. I learn something new every day.
Okay.
So that did it for the previews. Moving on to the film. So that said, though, sorry case of previews for this movie. As much as we liked the movie, I hated the previews.
Yeah, it was really...
I don't think... Let me see. What? Except for Revenant, I would not watch a single one of these movies at the theater. Nope. Not a single one. So it was a bad round of previews. Which sucks because sometimes I enjoy the previews almost more than I do the film. Did not enjoy these very much, though. Mm-mm. Anyways, moving on. So Creed is the movie. For those of you who just happened to click on this without reading the title, and then accidentally skipped, through the first two parts of this review.
Which is all right with me.
Creed. So let me just set up the story real quick, and then we'll jump into it. This movie is about Apollo Creed's son, who he didn't grow up with his father. He grew up in the system, and he is a fighter. He's been a fighter since he was young. It had nothing to do with his father. He just was a fighter. And throughout the film, he wants to become a champ, essentially. And he uses Rocky. I shouldn't say use because it sounds bad. But he wants Rocky to train him. And so the first part of the movie is him convincing Rocky to train him. The second half of the movie is the training and the fight, right? That, in a nutshell, is the movie. Also, he feels all alone in the world. So does Rocky, and that is a huge part of this film. So the question is, I think, was that a significant enough story to revitalize the franchise?
Not really.
So,
but it did.
But it did. Yeah, I think it's a great point. If on paper, I don't necessarily think this would have. I don't think I would have bought this movie as something to do. I'd be like, this no different than the first film. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. At the end of the day, it's pretty much the same. But damn it, it worked. And it worked so good. It worked so good. I'm shocked at how well this basic story, because it is a very basic story. You got to admit it. It's a very basic story. It worked so well. They did a great job, like stitching all these pieces together and creating the story of Apollo Creed's son. Now, I can't say that if they were gonna, I can't think of any other way that they could have taken it other than this. You know what I mean? Like, who wouldn't want to follow Ivan Drago's son? You know what I mean?
If they do that...
No. Throwaway. Which will kind of come around to the very last question. We'll get there here in a few about if there should be more.
That would be crazy.
That would not be okay in my eyes.
That'd be hilarious. I would laugh.
But that said, I think they did a great job with the story. Now, the good and the bad, all right? So just highlights from you of some of the things you think they did really great versus some of the things you didn't think they did great. Maybe they did everything great and you don't have any bads, but just go. What you got?
Things I thought they did great was implementing the theme song, the music in general. I feel like fit in the places that it needed to go. Yeah,
without feeling redundant, right? It didn't feel like recycled from the other films. It felt new.
Right. I liked that. It felt legit. It felt like, okay, this is a continuation of the story from that side going into Rocky. The bad thing, and you're probably going to smack me for this, but I feel like Michael B. Jordan basically kind of played the same character as in Fantastic Four. Said it out loud. Said it out loud. I mean, you got to think about
the young hothead that wanted to prove something
to his
dad. Yeah. I know, I get it.
And so, in a sense, it kind of made me. I feel like it almost like
the difference
bottlenecked
being
him a little bit.
He grew in this film, and he did not grow in Fantastic Four. He pretty much stayed the same character.
Okay.
So
then that's how that balances out. But he better not do another movie where he's mad at his dad.
I do totally understand where you're coming from, though. His character, I think the two characters start off very, very similar. Mm-hmm. And then, but again, what the defining factor here being throughout this film, he grows. He doesn't necessarily grow a lot because he has that hot-headed moment at close to the end of the film. You know what I mean, where he stands up and just, but he grew regardless. I think those are some good pluses, and I think it's a good negative. Excuse me, good God. It's Thanksgiving, guys. So, you know, you got to excuse
I got like
some
8
belches.
food babies. Oh my
Exactly.
goodness, look at that.
Uh-oh. You want me to cut this out? Oh. So here's some pluses for me. I think the acting was great. We're going to get into some of the finer points of the acting and talk about the performance here in a second. I think the story was mediocre. So, I don't know, throw that into the negative column. Like, it was significant. It was sufficient. That's what I meant to say. The story was sufficient. The music was amazing. To me, what you said, like, it was the theme music, but it was revitalized in a way that felt new and it felt original. It felt like an original score, and some of it was, you know, but clearly you could hear those beats. You know,
I mean, it was good that they didn't, you know, put out the full on Rocky beat, but just kind of because this isn't Rocky. This is
it's Creed.
And so ultimately, kind of tilting that theme song to play into both.
Yeah.
Benefits.
Agreed. 100%. Let's see. I liked the bad guy. You know why I liked the bad guy? Because he didn't fit that stupid bad guy archetype that all the Rocky movies have had. Now, I shouldn't say all the Rocky movies, because Apollo Creed was the bad guy, but he wasn't your typical bad guy. Once we got to Rocky 3, 4, and 5, we had like those just generic like bad guys. Ivan Drago, Mr. T. You know what I mean? Like they were, and then of course you came to Tommy Barnes there in the fifth film. They were just like you just expected everything that came out of their mouth. This bad guy was just a boxer. He was just a really great boxer. And he was going to jail because he had done some stupid shit. And this was going to be his last fight. And it was, to me, it was perfect. I totally bought the story. It didn't seem like they had, like, specifically Ivan Drago, which Rocky IV is probably my personal favorite Rocky film because of Ivan Drago. It's not the best, but it's my favorite. There's a difference. He is just a meathead. You know what I mean? Mm. Like, he's just a...
Well, I feel like...
He's just a bad guy.
I feel like the Conlon character was kind of a meathead, too, but he knew he was good.
Well, but, like, you didn't really... The thing with Ivan Drago is he was the face of Russia. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. That movie was almost literally made for the sole purpose of making America feel good about themselves in the Cold War. You know, Conlon, he was a meathead, but like you knew about him, you knew why he was the way he was, and he wasn't there to kill Apollo Creed like Ivan Drago was. You know what I mean? Mm. He was there to just box because he was a boxer. And that's what he did. You know. Anyways, I really enjoyed that character. I thought he was probably the best bad guy that the series has ever had. I don't really consider Apollo Creed a bad guy necessarily. He was in the first film and kind of in the second film, but not in the same way. So anyways, I really enjoyed that stuff. So the bad, I've only got really one major negative. I've said it to you 100 times. There are these cut sequences that they like freeze frame a boxer on screen and his stats come up on the side. Like a Mortal Kombat or something, you know what I mean? And every single time they did it, they took me out of the film. I was just like, I
feel like they would have mattered more. Well, I don't know. One, I found it kind of hard for myself to actually read it.
Yeah, because it was quick. Like
it was quick, but the font
was a little weird.
What they were trying to do, but ultimately it didn't come across because basically all I saw was the writing, the colored numbers, 17 and 0, 31 and 0, and that's all I remember.
Yep.
So it was really not easy to really focus it. I understand what they tried to do. I mean, they might as well have just stuck, a card up. Like football. They might as well just cut the whole screen and just made it just
the one you want, the gone one. Key and Peele reference. No, but every single time they did it, I was just like, okay, This
So
isn't stylistic like that.
But it's gonna lead to that first guy being the second movie. That's
the
what
guy
it's
that
gonna...
got knocked out
Mm-hmm.
in the... Maybe so. But the thing is, the movie isn't stylistic enough
to incorporate
to incorporate something like that. Like I said to you when we stopped yesterday, that's something I would expect out of like a Smoking Aces kind of movie, you know? And this isn't that at all. This movie is literally the exact opposite of that feel. It's all character driven. It's not even really about fighting. Fighting is in it. Boxing is in it. But it's not about that. It's about the growth of Sylvester Stallone and Michael B. Jordan. You know? And so it's a drama. Mm-hmm. So every single freaking time it would come up on screen, I was just like, ugh!
It was fine for me. It was just hard to follow. But I see what you mean. It just almost didn't fit.
So I was more annoyed than she was, but she still, damn it, that camera cut. She still agrees it was a distraction. So, yeah. Hang on, let me re-roll this camera.
Reroll. Speeding.
Spurting. All right, so let's move on and power through this stuff. The acting. Let's talk about the way it was set up in the movie. The seasoned pro and the amateur. Stallone versus Michael B. Jordan.
Again, even though I feel like we've seen this before, I feel like Stallone did a good job of not straying away from the Rocky character. He wasn't nothing different. I feel like Rocky is him.
Yeah,
Rocky.
It really does seem like when he wrote Rocky way back when, he just wrote a movie for him to be in. Mm-hmm. He doesn't seem to me like he's ever reaching. And there's a point in the film where he cries because he doesn't cry, but he gets really choked up because he's thinking about all the people that he's lost. And you know what? Now that I think about it, I'm like, I bet that was fucking easy. Because he literally did kill these characters are dead in the world that he created. You know what I mean? It's not just Sylvester Stallone acting in a film. He's actually talking about things that he's had to do through his life. Mm-hmm. And like, when I think about it like that, I almost get more chilled. Like, I get goosebumps right now. Like, thinking about it, personally. But I'm more of like I love the performance. So he did amazing, I think.
Yeah, I think he did a really good job because he didn't try to be anything but Rocky.
Right.
Which is himself.
AKA Sylvester Stallone. Now, then on the flip side of that, bring up the amateur. You got Michael B. Jordan. I say amateur. I don't mean that disparagingly. I just clearly Sylvester Stallone is the seasoned pro of the two.
Like I said, I guess I want to see... I guess I expected him to be this way because that's how I saw him in his other movies. I hope this doesn't continue, but for what he was doing, I feel like it fit a little bit. Sometimes it's a little bit like, shut the fuck up. But other times it was kind of necessary and I understand some of his reactions. Ultimately, I think he did all right. I think he did good with bringing a little bit of, I guess, eagerness to the character of wanting to, be there right now.
I'm gonna fight whatever his name is,
yeah,
Conlon.
But ultimately, we have seen it before, so I don't feel like it was anything truly outstanding. I feel like he was doing as good as he can for this character that has been kind of done before.
Yeah, well, okay, so, let's circle back onto the story real quick. It's not like the most original thing ever. Right. If you think that you're getting that, then you've got another thing coming. It's a rehashed story. So, that being said, there are only so many character beats, that could possibly be hit. And it sounds like you are saying that the character beats he was given, he did well at, but it's nothing like outstanding or outlandish or crazy. Mm-mm. Fair enough. There was one part that he raised my eyebrow, and it was just the delivery of his line, where at the end he said that he wanted to prove he wasn't a mistake. And that was the one time in the film where I saw this like little glimmer where I was like, ooh, you did something right then that you hadn't done the rest of this movie. He did great the whole movie, so don't misunderstand what I'm saying. But there was just this one part where I was like, dang, okay, that was something different that you haven't done, and I really liked it.
And I think maybe that was projecting himself now, his career now,
Maybe
show people, which I think made it easier to deliver that line.
Maybe so.
It's
I'd be
always
interested to know if Fantastic Four and this were filming at the same time, or if Fantastic Four happened first, or if Rocky happened first, or if Creed happened first, I should say. Because if Fantastic Four happened first, it almost might make sense that it was a lot of him coming through. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Because not everybody hates Fantastic Four for some reason. I just don't hold and harness this anger that everybody else does. But I can see where he, as an actor, would maybe.
And maybe he's got
offensed.
I mean, because ultimately, when the news broke about him playing Johnny Storm, I mean, I'm pretty sure he felt a little bit down about what people were saying, and maybe he himself thought he couldn't be proven to be a good actor and to have his spot in the acting world. Like I said, I think ultimately a little bit of him probably came out in that, despite anything else.
Well, we'll finalize this and move on to the transformations, but I've got to say that I think he most certainly proved that he is a viable option of an actor in this film. Mm. I think that we'll see plenty more of him to come. And I hope we do. You okay? Mm-hmm. I sneezed. All right. Last few topics, and we're going to call it a day. Body transformations.
I don't know if you noticed it, but I noticed it. Michael B. Jordan's in particular, as he trained more and got more, he was definitely a little bit more wide, more broad.
He started off in good shape, clearly.
Yeah, but yeah, you can definitely see, and I'm glad that they did that. I'm glad that he didn't just start off completely ripped.
Yeah.
I'm glad that he had to kind of gradually work up to that, which is what I think also Rocky did as well. You know, really built that, carved out everything.
Yeah.
And as far as Rocky, his spoiler alert, I guess.
Ish.
His transformation from, being older, because we can't go into these movies thinking, oh, Rocky's all right. He's still got that power. He's still got that.
Look, spoiler alert if you want to call it that. But, the question was raised when the preview came out. Like, is Rocky going to die, right? Well, we're not going to spoil that. But he does get cancer, right, about halfway through the film. It's not, again, not really, in my opinion, anything that you couldn't see coming. But he does, and then he gets progressively sicker because he's going through chemo and all that good stuff. So continue. I'm sorry.
And no, you're fine. And like I said, I just think I think it hit a lot of people because we've grown with Rocky.
Yeah, it did.
He has been
for sure
the most consistent character that we've ever seen. I feel like in a movie. Never changed from what he was, and to grow with him and to see him in that state, it's almost like seeing your dad like coming to the realization that holy crap, he's old. Like one day he's not gonna be here.
Yeah.
And
he's closer to death.
And they did a really good job with showing that, I guess, that transformation to being because he's older, yeah, for real, but like. Showing him close to death, being sickly, it was just like, not our hero.
Yeah, it was heartbreaking.
Not our hero. And so I think they did a good job with making him look a little bit older. Like I said, I saw him he was doing an interview the other day before we went to go see the movie. And, he still looks good. But they did a good job at making him look older and helping us realize that he may not be around for much longer.
So my stint on the transformation stuff is like, I expect Michael B. Jordan to be in shape for this role. So he looks fucking good. Okay. He looks really good. But nothing that I would consider like super impressive. I expect him, for the role, he needs to look like that. And he's 27
27, 28, 29 years old. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Now, on the flip side of that, now this is the oldest I've ever seen Sylvester look, ever. He just did what Balboa was like 5 years ago, right?
Mm-hmm.
Something like that. And he didn't look this old in that movie. And so, like, 5 years now, I'm sure that they moved him some way, shape, or form, you know what I mean, with makeup and stuff. But when he gets sick, there are some times where I'm like, God, he looks dead. Dead. Only issue I had with all of that is it seemed like sometimes it was inconsistent from shot to shot. Like, he would be really sick in one shot and look moderately okay in another shot. I'm not saying that it, like, detracted from the film or, like, took me away. It's honestly nitpicky stuff that I'm talking about, but it existed nonetheless, and I've got to review it fairly, right? So I felt it was a little inconsistent, but overall, great. And seeing that, like, I think that it looks as though he lost some weight throughout the course of the film. I might be like making that up in my brain, you know, watching it, and just like I go, oh, he's sick and feeble, so he must be losing weight. But it looks like he did, and he just like there were some times, man. Like I said, it was heartbreaking. It was heartbreaking. It really hit me. You good? Mm-hmm. So anything else on transformations? No. All right, fighting. Moving on to the fighting. The fighting in this is again, it's not a boxing movie. It's not a fighting movie. I mean,
It's drama.
it is a drama. I guess you could say the whole movie's about boxing. Yeah, it's about boxing, but it's not a boxing movie, okay? I don't know any better way to say that. This movie is about the growth of two individuals, but the fighting is freaking great. There is the first fight, not the first fight you see. I'm lying. The second fight you see, I'm lying again. The third fight you see, which was his first, like, the fight that raises everybody's eyebrows, is done in one shot. It's not done in one shot. Let me back up. It's done to look as though it was done in one shot. But if you're clever enough, you can kind of look at it and go, I bet you I know exactly where they cut here. And I think that they did it with green screen. You CG people can let me know. But it was all great. I mean, I was so into the fighting.
It was pretty intense. They did a good job of making you feel like you were in there.
Yeah. Especially that in one shot, like, the camera would flip, right? Like, it would go, punch, boom, and this, you know, Michael B. Jordan would get hit, and he'd go out of frame, and the camera would come back, and then Michael B. Jordan would come back in, and you'd see his eye, and it's cut. And it's like, how did they do that? Of course, again, they did it with cuts, but it convinces you, man. Not one time did I go, oh, you asses, I know what you did. I was into it. I was like, whoa.
Yeah, it was pretty. It kept you really like.
And they didn't pull out the old Rocky trope of like, you know what I mean? They didn't do any of that. It sounded real. It felt real. I was into it. They did do a sort of classic Rocky montage in the last fight, in the big fight, you know, to just pass forward time, where they're showing like not time lapses, but like, montage shots of like the bell ringing and punches and all that stuff. God, it was cut so kinetically. It was just, God, the fights were so good. They were better than Southpaw. Southpaw, since we just came off of reviewing that, Southpaw was still good, but this was by far better.
It's definitely more intense.
I mean,
like, you could feel it.
Inside of the fighting, let's talk about the training montages, because they kind of go hand in hand. That one training montage with the dudes and the motorcycles and the four-wheelers,
where he's getting amped up for the big
Woo!
fight.
I was in it. I was in it to win it. I was like wanting to get up out of my chair and like, yeah!
They definitely knew how to get you cheering and ready.
Oh, the music, man, again, it all came together into this just like perfect amalgamation of stuff. Sorry, I'm getting really excited. It's because they did great. And I haven't seen a movie. Honestly, I haven't seen a movie like this year. You know, like, people go, what about Mad Max? And it's like, Mad Max is a different film. Like, this is This is just, it's different. It's a drama that like gets you pumped, you know? It's just, it's not something you see every day. So sorry, I'm maybe overly excited. Am I overly excited?
Mm-hmm.
I'm sorry. What am I gonna do? Anything else to say on the fighting?
Mm-mm.
It was amazing. I mean,
it was really good.
it was great. They clearly rehearsed and rehearsed and rehearsed and rehearsed and rehearsed before they ever put a camera into play, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And then they rehearsed some more with the camera. And they made it all work, and it worked great. So the meaning, and I don't necessarily mean like the meaning of the film, but to me, the point of the movie was looking at Michael B. Jordan's character and how he, from a very young age, felt like he was extremely alone. And then looking at Sylvester Stallone's character, who, at least from the very beginning of this film, felt kind of the same way because he's lost everybody in his life, essentially. I mean, he's lost his wife. He's lost his wife's brother, a.k.a. his best friend. He's lost, essentially, his son, too, because he moved up to Vancouver because he's a little asshole. And they are able to find, you know, throughout the film, to me, again, the whole point of the movie is, like, they get to the end and they realize, like, they've had each other. And they have each other. At the very minimum, they have each other, you know, and Rocky has something left to fight for, and so does he. And I don't think that was something that anybody was really expecting from a Rocky film, especially at this point in time. You know what I mean?
Mm.
You look at the other Rocky films, except for Rocky 1, and none of them really have a message like that. You know what I mean?
Right.
Again, it's not a fighting movie. It's a drama with fighting in it, you know. What was that? It's not a ghost story. it's a story with ghosts in it.
Yeah.
Not to bring up fucking Crimson Peak into this, but I guess I just wanted to. It's not really a discussion or a debate topic. I just wanted to make sure that like people know what they're getting into. Like the whole point of the film is to like recognize what you have, not what you've lost. You know, it's to basically take a look. Yeah, it's to take a look to your left and take a look to your right and find people that, or find the things in your life that you do have right now. Not focus on the things that you've lost. Would you agree? Mostly, at least. So what are you gonna do? Last two topics and then we're done. How does this movie rate to the previous 6 movies?
They all have their own special place.
I mean, I agree. They all have their place, but I definitely have an opinion on this.
I don't have an opinion on this. I feel like it, to me, I feel like it just fits right where it needs to go. I don't feel like there's one that stands out more than the other. Especially with that, as often as I watch them. I don't feel like I would pick one over the other. I mean, I guess if anything, the Tommy gun one is the least favorite.
Fair enough.
But I feel like it's really up there.
Well, I mean, I personally think that this might even be better than the first Rocky. I think this is probably the best one in the franchise. Not only from a story standpoint, but from a filmmaking standpoint. And honestly, mostly from a filmmaking standpoint. Because Sylvester Stallone didn't have the tools available. And he had the worst tropes that he had to deal with back in the 80s. You know what I mean? Like, he had all the stuff that people make fun of with 80s films. That's what he had to deal with. You know, now, fast forward, and filmmaking has changed so drastically, not only in style, but in tone, that I feel like this movie is a clearly better film than the other 6 movies. It's very close to the last movie, Rocky Balboa, in my opinion. I still think this is better, though, personally. But that being said, Rocky 4 is still my favorite. Ivan Drago will never go anywhere in my eyes. So, very last topic on the list is, should there be more?
I feel like they'll probably do enough to finish Rocky up. and I feel like they may have one left before it starts to maybe get a little bit out of control.
Here's my only question I come to, and I inherently think they're going to make more.
For sure, especially after everybody sees this.
Right. We know we don't need them. Do we want them? Here's my one thing. Like, what can they do that they haven't done? You know what I mean? And in the first 6 films, what could they do now that would be any different from what they did then? And I just feel like now I'm not saying that movies have to be different every time they get made, but like it's in the same franchise, you know what I mean? Like what can you possibly do? I just don't see how you can do anything, really.
No, like I said, they got one good one left in them, and it's to kind of tie it up. And I think they should leave it alone.
What do you think that would look like? What do you think a next movie?
The death of Rocky and Michael growing just a little bit more. And then...
And retiring? Realizing that maybe boxing isn't what he needs to be doing with his life? That would be something interesting. That'd be a perfect ending to a boxing film or boxing franchise that isn't truly about boxing.
I feel like there's so many cliches that they can throw into it just to make it enough.
Yeah, I know.
So...
Interesting stuff.
Mm-hmm.
We'll see what happens. I mean, I definitely think we're going to see more.
Yeah.
And
like I said, I mean, we hadn't even seen that guy. I mean, it definitely has to go back to the guy that first knocked him out. Fine. We know we have to do that. You know, we didn't get his stats or nothing. But ultimately...
Oh, we didn't. No, yeah, we did.
We did. Yeah, that was the first one. Ultimately, I feel like that's enough. But they better not bring that round of anything with Russia. That's all I got to say.
If they end up doing like another Russia versus I will boycott the film.
But that would make so much money because everybody loves that one. And then it must be like, listen to the father.
Listen to the father.
So ultimately, I feel like they better not. They better not, but they know that they could make a lot of money off of that build-up.
They probably could.
Hollywood hijinks.
All right, that's all I got. Do you have anything else to add? No. Go see the film. That's my personal opinion. How about you?
Definitely see it in theater.
Yeah.
It's a good one.
It's very, very good. The audio mix alone is worth seeing it in the theater.
Definitely, yeah.
So that's all we got, guys. I think it's been probably a little longer than normal, but it's been fun nonetheless. I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you haven't already, make sure to go to the comment section below and leave us a comment. Hit us up on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and SoundCloud. Go to movieholics.net. Leave us a comment there. We're eventually going to get around to doing this Q&A. We did the live stream thing that was really successful, so we didn't have to do a dedicated video to the Q&A. So, anyways, what are you going to do? So that's it, man. I guess we'll catch you on the next one. I don't know what's coming up. I don't have anything on my schedule right now for new movies.
The next one is...
Well, definitely Star Wars at some point, but that's December 18th. I don't know. I'm probably not going to see it day one.
There's nothing between now and then.
Maybe Good Dinosaur.
I don't want to.
All right. That's all I got. Thanks, guys. I love you much.
See, I love you.
So does she. She means it. All right. We're going to high five it out. Ready? 3, 2, 1. Ah, boom.